Hey, this is Joe from Home Studio Corner. I got two things to talk to you about today. The first is a free way to dramatically improve the music that you're working on in your home studio. And the second is a way to go deeper into this topic with me at a really steep discount. So first, let's talk about the free thing. I want to read a quote that I found. This is from Mozart, the composer. Now, before I read it, just remember, this is someone who lived hundreds of years ago, and we still listen to his music. I was in college, I was in the Magic Flute. Our music department did the opera, The Magic Flute. I was a small role in the opera, but that's the one with the Queen of the Night aria, We still recognize that melody today. I have no fantasies that in 400 years my music is going to be listened to by most people in the world. But so with that in mind, listen to this. This is really interesting. Just fascinating. It says, this is from Wolfgang Mozart, and he said, "I have never made the slightest effort to compose anything original." What? One of the most prolific and talented and gifted composers, and you can argue if you like other composers better, whatever. But you can't argue with his success and longevity. Mozart says he didn't do anything original. What does that mean? How do we unpack that? What does it mean that he says, "I've never made the slightest effort to compose anything original"? The idea here is, of course, that we make music by, if you want to put it nicely, imitating the music that other people have made. If you want to put it more bluntly, we steal ideas from somebody else. Think about just regular, I guess I would call it Western music. It's 12 notes, right? If you go from middle C to the next C, there's only 12 notes there. That's it. There's only a handful of notes that we have available to us, and yet there's a seemingly infinite number of variations of melodies, chord progressions, rhythms, all of those things. And it's a noble desire to want to create something completely from scratch, completely original. But and if that's you and you're thinking, I want to make original music that no one can even listen to because it's so original that it almost doesn't sound like music. If that makes you happy, go for it. However, if you're wanting to make music that other people connect with and enjoy and listen to, it probably makes sense to take some cues from people who have gone before you, from people who have had success, from people whose music you enjoy. And that's what I want to talk about today, is this idea that it's funny to me when you hear this. It's not like overtly spoken, but there's this idea in the professional audio world, and really in any professional industry, creative industry, this idea of don't share all your secrets because that's what makes you you, which is obviously not true. You look at someone like Dave Pensato, who is massively successful, and he's been doing Pensato's Place and talking about how he does what he does and interviewing all these people. He's no less successful. If anything, he's become more prominent because of that. Sharing your secret of how you do things doesn't belittle the good thing that you do. In fact, here's the dirty little secret, is they're not sharing anything that you couldn't learn. Okay, that's not entirely true. The bulk of what makes great music great, you can discover for yourself for free. So if you have a Spotify account, you can listen to just about any piece of music that's ever been released, and all the secrets are right there in the track. What do I mean? I mean, if you're wondering, how do I get better at producing a rock and roll song, go listen to the top 100 rock and roll songs of all time, or the top 100 rock and roll songs of the last 20 years, and start to take note of what they're doing. Where are they putting the guitars? What guitar tones do they use? Where does the vocal sit? How many vocals are there? Are there vocal effects, or is it a dry vocal? Is the vocal super loud? Is it super quiet? Is there lots of reverb or no reverb? All the secrets, the things that they're baking into their songs to make them amazing, are right there for you to listen to for free. So if you think, here's something that, I don't know if it's human nature or what, but you hear something that sounds amazing, and your first question, and I'm guilty of this as well, is, how'd you make that sound? What gear did you use to make that sound? Or maybe a more appropriate one in today's world is, what plugin did you use for that? Or I get this all the time on this channel. They'll say, what microphone are you using? Tell us what microphone you're... Right now, it's a $130 PreSonus microphone. I've got my EP that I just released. I use this $130 PreSonus microphone. It's not about that. Yes, the gear matters, and we want to... Yes, we don't want to use complete garbage, right? And better gear has its benefits. But the big thing, if the gear makes up, let's say, 20% of what makes a hit record great, the other 80% is the part that you can learn for free almost by just listening to what music is out there right now. So if you're finding that you're struggling, especially if you've been releasing music and you feel like you're releasing the same thing over and over, or you don't have any new ideas, or what you release, you have a sneaky suspicion it's a little bit boring, go give yourself an education in listening to the way other people produce their music. It is the cheapest way to get a great education in what makes for a good song. Now, that may seem like super duper common sense. When you first get into music, this comes naturally because you just listen like crazy. Like when I first got into music, I listened to everything super intently to learn how they played that guitar part and what the vocals sound like. But there's this thing that happened with me, and I wonder if it's happened with you as well, where the better I got at the more I got into music and production, the less critically I would listen to other stuff because I'm focused on the thing that I'm creating. But that's a mistake, because we always want to be feeding our brains new ideas, because according to Mozart, you can make a case that original ideas don't exist at all. And it's all about taking and making new things out of existing ideas. Think about if you were to produce, if you're a manufacturer, manufacturers don't make anything, they assemble things using things that they find, right? This microphone wasn't made out of thin air. They assembled all the metals and plastics and circuitry and silicone to turn it into a microphone. They assembled things, didn't steal them, but same idea. They took all these different ideas and put them together into this microphone. And the same is true for music. It's not something you can hold in your hand and touch, but it's the same idea. Okay, so that is a free way to expand your ability as a music producer. However, if you want to dive in deep to the nitty-gritty, kind of the step-by-step workflow of producing music in a home studio, how to get better sounds, how to do a better job with your microphones, how to produce better music, how a step-by-step process for getting better mixes every time, and then how to do that final mysterious mastering process that tends to baffle people, and if you don't do it right, can kind of ruin everything you did up to that point. I have 3 courses that will teach you all of that. In fact, they all kind of tie together. I use the same song throughout all 3 to give you that full education. The first of which is my recording course called Home Studio Recording, really super great name, where I take one song of mine and I produce it 4 different ways. Really 3 to 4. There's a simple guitar vocal version. There's a beautiful ballad version with cello and big ambient synths and things like that. And then there's a big rock band version of the same song. And you get to follow me through that production process the entire time. And I stop along the way to teach you the different concepts that I'm using and applying to that production. And then when you move into the mixing course, I go through and teach you my process, my framework for mixing that applies to whether you're mixing 2 tracks or 50,000 tracks. The same process applies, and then you go through the mix with me. You've got tracks to practice with, lots of tracks to practice with, including those songs that I recorded in that recording course. You can now mix those tracks and see how that recording works in the mixing environment. And then the mastering course takes those mixes that we've worked on and goes through my 5-step mastering process, which is similar to the mixing process, same idea with a few key differences, to how to get a nice, loud, beautiful sounding master to put the finishing touches on all this work that you've done. If you want to check those out, those courses are available and on sale right now, but the sale ends really soon. So head over to homestudiocorner.com/sale. Everything is 50% off, and a couple of them, if you get them all together, it's even more than that. It's like an extra $50 off, so it ends up being like 55% off. But it's only available for, I think, just a couple days from when this video goes up. So you got to hurry, go over to homestudiocorner.com/sale. If you're watching this in the future, if I forget to take this video down, those courses are still valuable at the normal price. You can still get them. But if you're watching this when this video comes out, now's the time to grab it. Go to homestudiocorner.com/sale. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.